Today, I'm walking you through every asset that belongs in your retirement portfolio. What it is, why it belongs in there, and how much of your retirement portfolio it should make up, and exactly how to get it in it. Let's start with the asset you probably are most familiar with. Equities, stocks, are the first asset anyone should have in their portfolio. They're the most important by far. Publicly traded securities, whether individual stocks, ETFs, or mutual funds, have produced over a 10% annual rate of return across 100 plus years. For the most part, you're investing in large, regulated companies with daily liquidity. You can sell whenever you want. The infrastructure is sound, it's easy to execute, and the long-term track record is unmatched. Now, how much should you have in equities? That point is highly debated. Wall Street has pushed the traditional 60-40 portfolio for generations when it comes to stocks and equities. That means 60% of your money in equities and 40% in fixed income or bonds. This has been the standard framework that every American's been using for their retirement portfolio. Except that's not what the rich are doing. They are selling you a car they wouldn't even drive. Instead, they are using a portfolio framework that I use and my wealthy clients use. It's the same framework that Harvard's endowment and basically every ultra wealthy person in America uses. It's called the new 60-40. Instead of 60% equities, 40% fixed income, you want equities and bonds combined to sit around 40% of your portfolio. And the remaining 60% goes into alternative assets like real estate, gold, private businesses, and Bitcoin. I actually just finished writing my new book on this, and in my next video, I break down the new 60-40 investment strategy in depth because it's not just about what assets you're holding, but what your strategy is to acquire them and keep them growing. So make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. In the new 60-40 model, equities sit inside the 40% traditional bucket. A good target is roughly 80% of that 40% allocated to stocks, equities, with the remaining 10 to 50% going to fixed income, like bonds. You can adjust that ratio depending on your age and, of course, your risk tolerance. But equities are the core of any portfolio because they have the most growth potential. If the government is going to print money, I believe it will be good for the stock market in the long run. There are tons of different ways to access equities. Equities can be held personally inside of a retirement account, IRA, a Roth, a 401k, HSA, Coverdell, 529. Equities work across all of them. They are the bread and butter of retirement accounts and the non-negotiable foundation of every investment portfolio. Profits from selling stocks are usually subject to hefty taxes, but not if you invest them through specific accounts, which is why I cover how the rich avoid paying taxes and how you can steal their strategy in this video on my personal channel. Fixed income is another staple for any investor's portfolio. These are your bonds. It's a strong asset, but its power in your portfolio should be sized to match where you are in your life. First off, if you're using the new 60-40 strategy as your base, fixed income belongs alongside equities in that 40% traditional bucket. If you're under 50, your fixed income exposure should be quite low. You want to keep bonds and cash equivalents close to probably around 10 or 15% of that 40% bucket, with equities taking the rest. Once you're over 50 and you want more safety and cash flow, you shift closer to 40% in fixed income, balancing municipal bonds, treasuries, and, of course, quality corporate bonds. How do those bonds work? Well, when you buy a bond, you are the lender. You're lending to a government or a company and receiving a fixed rate of return. That rate is typically maybe 4%, 5%, or 7% annually, regardless of what the equity market does. If the market drops 15%, your bond continues paying. That is the stabilizing value, and you want that in your portfolio, especially if you're over 50 and investing in your retirement account. You can buy bonds through your brokerage or retirement accounts, just like stocks. So there are many different types of bonds. Tax exempt, municipal bonds, are worth considering when you're investing with personal money because your returns come back tax-free. Well, inside a retirement account, that tax exemption is already built into the account structure, so you do not need to prioritize munis specifically. Corporate bonds can offer higher rates, and there are well-known companies offering these bonds like Apple or Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, and Walmart. There are rating systems for bonds from D up to AAA, which are the safest. But businesses like airlines and car companies that carry junk ratings can also be solid businesses where you can actually get pretty decent returns off these corporate bonds at relatively very low risk. For example, Delta Airlines has a triple B negative rating. The big downside of bonds is that they are heavily impacted by inflation, and the inflation issue is a real concern. At 3% inflation, a 7% bond return nets you roughly 4% for tax. That is why I keep fixed income exposure lean, and why I lean towards tax-exempt munis when I do hold them outside of my retirement account. The last type of fixed income is cash equivalents, like savings accounts and money markets. Everyone will need some liquidity for bills and life, and money markets at 3% is fine for that purpose. But inside a retirement account, cash should be essentially zero. Every dollar in a retirement account should be working. The next asset is real estate. Every serious investor needs exposure to real estate. Real estate is a hard asset that hedges against inflation. It generates annual rental income and appreciates simultaneously. You get the dual benefit of cash flow and capital growth in a single position. The resilience of real estate is one of its main benefits as an asset. Even during a government crisis, a recession, or a global disruption, people need somewhere to live. The rent may come down in a downturn, but the cash flow does not disappear entirely. That is exactly why real estate belongs in every portfolio inside or outside of your retirement account. When using the new 60-40, real estate should make up 15 to 30% of the 60% alternative bucket. Some investors build their entire alternative allocation around real estate because they understand it, they trust it, and have seen it deliver. It makes sense. I get it. A property that doubles in value over 10 years while generating monthly income is a compounding machine that needs no explanation. However, real estate can have a few issues. First, you don't want to have all your money in real estate in case that market tanks. There will always be a focus on real estate, but you want to be properly diversified. Second, it's hard to get into some type of real estate due to the capital commitment to get started. Lastly, entry points for real estate are varied. You can directly buy properties you want to own personally, whether it's residential, multifamily, short-term rentals, or raw land. You can also purchase those independently. But if you're worried about a massive capital commitment, you can always partner with friends and family to pool capital, take on debt together, flip homes, or hold rentals. This is actually how I got into my first real estate investment. You can also invest in private real estate funds focused on specific properties like strip malls, residential acquisitions, or even building developments. Another way without buying directly is buying shares in publicly traded REITs, real estate investment trusts, which gives you professionally managed exposure across the country without owning anything personally. REITs are a solid option when direct ownership is not very practical. They are tax efficient, they're liquid, and easy to access inside of a retirement account. There is a trade-off though. You have less control and lower returns compared to a well-chosen direct real estate investment. Now, just like how you can invest stocks and bonds in your retirement account for maximum tax efficiency, you can also use your retirement account to invest in real estate. Our tax experts at IRA Financial set up self-directed IRAs, Roth IRAs, and checkbook control IRAs every day for our clients who want to invest in real estate. And for investors who want real estate exposure in their IRAs without managing a property, REITs and private real estate funds are a clean solution. I cover everything you need to know on how to buy real estate tax-free in your 401k or IRA. The link in the description below. Now, this next asset is generally lesser known. Hard money loans and private credit funds are one of the most underutilized assets I see, and they are variations of a bond. Just like in a bond, you are the lender. But instead of lending to the US government or a Fortune 500 company, you are lending to small businesses and real estate developers who cannot access capital through traditional banks. Since 2008, banks have had significantly more restrictions on lending, which created a massive gap in the market. Private credit has been filling that gap ever since. For example, a business doing $7 million in gross revenue with solid operations but thin margins cannot always get a bank loan. Private credit fills that gap, and as the investor, you get paid well for stepping in. Instead of the 4 to 5% a treasury might offer, or 5 to 7% from a corporate bond, private credit funds are producing 9 to 10% annually. If you want to do individual deals with slightly more risk, you can access 12 to 15% returns or even more. There are also large institutional funds like Blue Owl and Apollo that are accessible through an investment advisor. On a more localized level, once you let it be known you're looking to lend, the opportunities come to you. Trust me. Local real estate developers need 12 to 24-month bridge loans constantly. Small businesses need working capital. If you are worried about getting the money from your investment back, taking a security interest in the company's inventory or a lien on their property is how you protect yourself and make sure you get your return. Now, hard money loans and private credit funds are powerful in any portfolio. They should make up 5 to 15% of your alternative bucket. And they're one of the most tax-efficient assets you can hold inside of a retirement account. The key reason to hold it in a retirement account is that all the interest you earn from your loan comes back tax exempt. Whereas in a personal account, that interest is taxed at ordinary income tax rates. If you want to learn more about how to build tax-free wealth in your retirement account, book a free consultation with an IRA financial tax expert in the link in the description below. We'll help you set up the account and get you started so that you can easily start growing your wealth tax-free. Inside an IRA or 401k, there is no tax drag at all. It is one of the highest yielding, most tax-efficient positions you can hold. Now, this asset may seem surprising and a bit controversial, but it works. Bitcoin belongs in every portfolio at a 1 to 5% of the alternative bucket. Some call it digital gold, some call it gambling. I will cover physical gold in a bit, but there's a real value in Bitcoin, and I cover what I personally believe in this video. Bitcoin has only been around about 15 years, and it is volatile. It has gone from the highs down to the 50,000 and back. That volatility is going to continue, but in my opinion, the rewards far outweigh the risks for a position sized appropriately. It is not going to go to zero. Over the next decade, the growth trajectory is super compelling, and I believe it serves as a meaningful hedge against equity market performance in a way that gold alone does not capture. The three investments that have generated the most wealth for me personally are Bitcoin, real estate, and private business stock. Those three positions account for roughly 70% of what I have built over my career. The equities are great. Fixed income has its place, but the real compounding, the millions of dollars in my retirement account, came from these asymmetric bets on assets the traditional portfolio ignores, like Bitcoin. But this really depends on your personal risk tolerance. The best place to hold Bitcoin, in my opinion, is inside of a Roth IRA, where every dollar of appreciation comes out 100% tax-free. If you do not have a Roth IRA, do not want to open one, holding Bitcoin personally still makes some sense. But inside the retirement account is where the tax advantage on appreciation compounds most powerfully. Alongside Bitcoin, you want to have physical gold in your portfolio. Gold should be sitting around 1% to 5% in the alternative section of your portfolio. Its role as an asset is very straightforward. It is a hedge against inflation and currency debasement, or what some call de-dollarization. Before 2020, gold was not a priority for me at all. It does not generate an annual rate of return. In a low inflation environment, the case for holding a metal bar in a depository is hard to make when real estate and equities are delivering solid returns. For most of the last 30 years, inflation was not a serious concern, and gold reflected that. Then COVID happened, and inflation became real and persistent. Inflation is impacting everything. Go to a grocery store, book a flight, or buy a pair of shoes. Everything is up, up, up. Companies raised prices during the tariff period, and they have not lowered them since costs kept rising. The inflation we are dealing with appears underreported in official numbers, and it does not look like it's going away soon, unfortunately. Interest rates are likely to stay lower than the inflation environment warrants, which means inflation persists. In that environment, gold matters in a way it did not matter for most of my career. The government is not serious about bringing inflation under control. Deficits continue to grow, and the purchasing power of cash keeps eroding. Gold is the oldest hedge against exactly that condition, and it belongs in every portfolio built for the current environment. The last asset is investing in private equity and private business. Private equity is perhaps the most powerful asset you could have in your portfolio. Whether through a fund, a hedge fund, or a direct investment in a private company, you want to be invested in private equity because of all the 7 assets, this one has the highest ceiling. One of our clients put $50,000 into a private business, and investment is now worth over $150 million today, tax-free. You want 1 to 5% investment in private equity to round out that 60% alternative bucket of the new 60-40 strategy. Whether you're investing in a friend's company, putting capital into a private equity or hedge fund, or building equity in your own business, this is what wealthy people actually do. They understand the power of alternative assets and they use it to complement and boost the foundation of their traditional portfolio. Equities as the foundation, fixed income and cash equivalents for stability and balance, real estate for inflation protection, cash flow, and, of course, long-term appreciation, private credit for high tax-efficient yield, Bitcoin as an asymmetric growth position, gold as an inflation hedge, and private equity and private business as the highest conviction, highest upside asset in the stack. Private business ownership is what generates the serious returns that separates a solid portfolio from a wealth-building one. The most powerful version of this is doing it inside a self-directed IRA or solo 401k. All the gains, the appreciation on private company stock, the distributions, and the eventual exit grow completely 100% tax-free or tax-deferred, depending on your account type. The client I mentioned earlier who turned $50K into $150 million invested in this private business in his Roth IRA, which means he can now use that $150 million 100% completely tax-free. That tax shelter on high growth, liquid assets is one of the most powerful tools available to investors who know how to use it. And it is almost entirely ignored by the traditional financial industry. The smartest investors pay less taxes. So if you want to build real wealth inside a self-directed IRA or solo 401k where the gains grow completely 100% tax-free, IRA Financial has been doing exactly that for over 16 years. Please book a free consultation with the link in the description below and let us help you build the portfolio the right way. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.